So, good evening guys and welcome to OTL Realistic. It is Season 1. It is our second round of our sprint format. So it's round 8 and tonight we head to France. I will get a quick lowdown of our teams. Sorry for the slight delay in getting going. So let's see our teams for tonight. We have Bossman and Rage both in the Haas, Clarkey and ENTXJ in the Williams, F. Lewis and Ryan Sam in the Alfa Romeo, SPW and Mikey in the Astons, Dixie and Chubby Slug in the Alpines, Danny and Nick in the Alpha T's, Pedro and Ranger in the McLarens, Mazispin and Fingers in the Ferrari, Mitsima and Volks in the Mercedes, and Schlee and Mitch in the Red Bull. I hope everybody's doing well. Of course, sprint format, so it's one shot qualifying, 25% race, then a 50% race. So qualifying, as always, will be a little bit complex, especially the one shot. Getting through it is not easy, but then we're followed straightly by a 25% race, which can open up the door, and of course the results of the 25% race will determine our grid for the 50%. So let's have a look at the standings very quickly before we get into our short qualifying. Hopefully nobody readies up and gives us all a minute. So F. Lewis is still maintaining that advantage at the top of the championship, although it has been whittled down to 8 points. So 8 points between F. Lewis and Rage. F. Lewis on 130, Rage on 122. Then we've got ENTXJ 7 points behind Rage on 115 in third. Then Clarkey and Mikey both tied on 111. Ryan Sam and P6 on 105. Chubby Slug P7 on 99. Pedro and SPW P8 and 9 both on 80. Then Dixie and P10 on 79. Danny Boy 11 on 66. Mazispin P12 on 58. Greenfingers P13 on 57. Ranger on P14 on 56, as is Volksbob in P15. Mitzimat P16 on 55. Then we have a tie for 18th, URL Nick and Bossman on 51. Then P19 we have Helmaid on 37. P20 we have Charlie on 32, he's no longer with us. Then we have Mitch in 15 and 21st, and then Shiv in 22nd on 1 point down at the bottom of the field. Of course, he was a reserve last week. So, sprint qualifying coming up. I will get my stream back up. We'll have a timer up there, but that's not because somebody's readied up. For some reason we just have that at the start. So let's get the stream up. Oh, I do not want to hear myself like that. Jack Steggle says, hello, watching with COVID. I wish you well soon, Mr. Jack. Good evening, Ethan. And Mr. Skarma. Ooh. Scammer. I'm just messing. There's somebody else wanting to chat, but we get ready for qualifying. We'll stay with ENTXJ since he was the man we were on for the first sector. So into turn 1 he goes. You want to get all over the curb on the inside, as close to that little yellow bollard, then use over the exit curb into it. Gets a nice good exit, pushes it up to P4 in that Williams car so far. Then down at the complex end of sector 1, again getting all over the curbs as much as you dare. Then he'll come through the kink to close off sector 1. We'll jump to Mr. Rage for sector 2 in the Hash. You see the understeer in the car, and then little kick onto the back straight. DRS opened, and this is where you'll see Rage lose all of his lap time. There's just not much to do in that Hash, but into the corners we may see him jump. So into the first chicane on the back straight, or the only chicane in the back straight, keeps it nice and tidy, gets a nice good exit, of course, on that medium compound tyre, the strategy we've seen used probably most effectively this week, although maybe not so much last night. So Mikey up through turn 11, nice and quick, getting into the last sector. We will go to Pedro. Let's go to Pedro, who's in P7 on that soft compound tyre. Get F. Lewis and Ryan Sam just in front. How we see getting on a couple of tricky corners. He's going to lose a couple of positions. Green fingers down the bottom. I think these guys may have invalidated a lap. Pedro up to P7. Can't he gain any time in the last couple of corners? He's up to P6. P5 now. DRS open. P4 for Pedro. He's got a very good exit. And Pedro Ranger will take the pole, but Pedro on to P4. You are on it too. Mitzi Matt P3. Good evening, Rob. Oh, you go away, Adam, with your comments. You big goon. Good evening, Rob. I hope you are well. So there we go. Ranger takes the pole position in his McLaren on the sprint. Nick in the Alpha Tauri on medium compound tyre, only half a second behind. Mitchy Matt P3 in the Mercedes. Then Pedro P4. F Lewis 5. Chubby Slug 6. Ryan Sam 7. Mikey P8. Mr. Rage 9. Dixie P10. Danny Boy 11. ENTXJ 12. Volksbub 13. Mazespin 14. Mitch 15. Skarma 16. Greenfingers 17. Mick 18. And SPW P19. Greenfingers and Mick both invalidated. SPW no time for some unapparent reason. The Haas. Yeah, it's a bit... So on to the grid we go. The guys take a little bit of a minute. It's only really fueling. There's not much you can really do with the fueling in such a short distance of laps. Interesting to see how the guys go, but usually it's a 50-50 split. You'll do 7 laps on the medium, 6 laps in the soft, whatever way you start it. It's a 13 chance race. I have not sent an invite. So, I will actually send young Jensen a little invitation. I'm glad you said that, Rach. My Shizou man. Forget about him. So, off in the formation lap they go. Ranger YouTube in the McLaren leading the way. Hope everybody's well in the chat. Please guys, if you haven't already, drop a little thumbs up on the video. We appreciate it muchly. So, on row 1 we have Ranger and Nick. Row 2, Mitzi, Matt and Pedro. Row 3, F Lewis and Chubby Slug. Row 4, Ryan, Sam and Mikey. Row 5, Rage and Dixie. Row 6, Danny and ENTXJ. Row 7, Volksbob and Mazespin. Row 8, Mitch and Skarma. Why did Skarma end up in the Haas? Did all the big cars go? Greenfingers and Mick in row 9 and Skarma in row 10, so that's why Skarma said the Haas. Because that's the car he got. Oh, Skarma, that is no introduction to realistic driving, I tell you that. Do not take anything from that car today because it was absolutely awful. So Ranger's going to check the field up a bit. Let's get some data on it as well so we can see what's happening. Let's actually have a look at the tyres. So Ranger, Mitzi, Matt, Pedro, F Lewis, Ryan, Sam and Danny Boy all on that soft compound tyre. Of course, we've seen Ryan, Sam and Monday make the soft to medium work very well. Then we've got Nick, Chubby Slug, Mikey, Rage and Dixie all in the top 10 on that medium compound tyre. So this is set to be something quite interesting. Ranger will filter in to the front of the grid. So we will go to our back marker man, who is SPW Gaming, who's had what looks like a connection problem. So we will go to Ranger as our French GP sprint qualifying format, and realistic we'll have 4 lights, 5 lights. And it is lights out, and it looks a better start. Somebody there get really bogged down. I think it was Mitzi Matt. He's chalked up off the line, and he's going to make him go backwards. And look at Nick try to put Ranger under pressure now. Ranger will cut off the line into turn 1. We'll filter back through now and see what's happening. As we see big contact, somebody's went round in the Aston Martin. I think it is Mikey. And we see here Ryan Sam try to put Chubby Slug under a bit of pressure. Let's filter back down the grid and see what's happening here. We've got some Haas men. Skarma has got no wing there, so he's going to be really struggling in the Haas. Mitch there goes through on Mick. Oh, and Scarma's just getting no front end on the car. So Mikey, did Mikey get any damage? It appears not, so let's go further up. We've got Volksbob and SPW Gaming. SPW leaving the space there. Volksbob trying to make the move, it's not going to come. Gets a bit of a tank slapper on while we see him push to overtake SPW here. I think we could see... Yeah, Robert, I would think so. And SPW there making a quite an abrupt movement into the braking zone, and Greenfingers will slip his way through in the Ferrari there. That's a very good opportunistic move. So let's go to the battle evolving up ahead. I think all our medium tyres are best placed, Rob. If they can just be clean and keep their noses out of trouble. And Dixie's in the pit. Has he picked up damage? He was driving okay. Does not look like he's got damage, but he is going to get a wing change there. So a big, bold, soft run here for Dixie till the end. SPW choosing a hard compound tyre. He needs to make that work now. Let's go further up the pack. Of course, last lap without DRS, then we'll probably see some more overtaking take place, especially at a track like France. Let's go this Green Fingers and Volkswagen battle. And Pedro now up to P3 on the grid. So, Alfa Romeo battle inbound on the DRS zone. And no F. Lewis, probably a little too well at the likes of France. So he is in the right position for DRS. So we may see him put Ryan Sam under a bit of attack. Gaps opening out up front, so Chubby Slug has lost time to Pedro. So he's now out the DRS. Pedro managed to break that a bit, and he's sitting pretty even to Matoman on the energy. So Pedro doing very well on his stint at the moment. But Ryan Sam, is he going to be able to put Chubby Slug under any pressure? I don't think they're going to get enough, but look at Fingers and Volksbob here. Fingers, in fact, is going to get up alongside Volksbob before he even gets to the DRS zone. And through he goes now, and Fingers up to P9. SPW spun the car. There's a surprise. There's a surprise. That's what they all get for bullying me in chat, Rob. In Discord, that is. So ENTXJ's managed to get through in Volks as well at some point. Oh, Volksbob needs to be careful there, having a bit of a moment. Mick is all over the back of this fight. Where else will we see opportunities arise? I think this is the big battle at the moment. We'll see these soft tyres dwindle off in the next 2 or 3 laps. Now, when I say dwindle off, the pace drop is not massive unless you take the soft... Oh, and Chubby Slug's round! Just as I say that, we're on board with Ryan Sam. We see Chubby Slug drop the car in the exit of 2, and that is not what you need. Of course, we've got the feature race to come up, so he has an opportunity to get something back, and Matt doing the right thing, just staying clear of the racing line as he re-enters the track, just to ensure he doesn't check anybody up, of course. Now this helps Fingers out, because he was about to be probably overtaken by the likes of ENTXJ, but he's going to get a batch of DRS. You jinxed Matt, oh man, Rob. That's funny. Green fingers to the inside line. Through he goes. DRS open. And Chubby Slug could come under pressure from other drivers behind. He just needs to settle back into his stint. Now, will F. Lewis put Ryan Sam under pressure? Ryan Sam not having the DRS anymore. Pedro's managed to get himself quite a bit up the road as well. He's got a nice near 2-second gap. And it's not changing massively either. As Chubby Slug goes back through side by side, him and Fingers having a bit of a fight now. Fingers will try and duck under. Chubby Slug will leave the space. Good bit of racing there between the boys. Well, ENTXJ capitalised F. Lewis into the pit, so he's in early, but of course, he's got the medium tyre to go to. The medium does race very, very well here. It's probably the tyre of choice to spend the duration of your race. Will we see ending the feature race go for the medium to soft strategy as well? I was doing it last night. It does work. I know it works. You can do it in the car. You just got to be willing to take the medium in the feature race, that is, the distance. The pace stays in the car. I was setting PBs on a 19 lap old medium tyre last night, so it's not like the drop off is bad. Tyre deg at France is reasonable, but for some reason the pace drop off and the higher percentages just doesn't seem to be as strong as other tracks. I think that's mostly down to, there's a lot of times where you're like, you cook the tyres for 3/4 of a lap and they get a nice bit of cooldown, so I think it keeps them in a nice window. So it wears worse on the worse performing cars, Rob. It is very, that realistic performance is good that way. That is something they've done a lot better this year. So the inherently understeery cars, the Haas, the Williams not so much, but the Alfa Romeo's very understeered. The Aston Martin, they burn their fronts up very, very quickly. And then you've got your nice balanced cars like your McLaren, your Ferrari, your Mercedes. The Red Bull is a little ruthless on its rears. If you try and be too aggressive on it, as we get the first couple of drivers pit from the front. Mr. Rage onto his medium compound tyre. There has been times, Rob, where I've seen the slower performance car make a two-stop work well. Oh, what's going on there? Oh, Mazepin is DNF. I don't know what's going on. Did he retire in the pits? I think he did. His car was just cutting off some guys at the front, but Nick checking it ahead. Pedro now got a 6.3 second gap. He's doing bits on the soft compound tyre. We will see him come in for that medium any minute. Now ENTXJ, and look at this, Fingers and Mick having a battle. Oh, and Mick tries to put his nose up the inside line and he goes round. Was there space to be left there? I'm not so sure. Maybe opportunistic, maybe not. Maybe it was a fair attempt to move. See Mitch make some moves and Mikey. Mitch now up to P10, so Pedro into the pits. It's going to be interesting. So Ranger will go through. Pedro now on his release, but where is Pedro going to come out in the Ryan Sam F. Lewis battle? He stays ahead. And this is where I showed you. That was an older soft to a newer medium tyre. And the gain is not massive at all. Ryan Sam was 1.8 behind Pedro in the pit. 1.3. So in a 3-lap overcut or undercut, only half a second found in lap time. It's not a lot. And Pedro, of course, now has the benefit of that fresh tyre. And Pedro at the moment, net P2. So Volksbob and Mick into the pits. Mick managed to recover. I don't think he picked up damage from that. So Mick's still in the race. So Greenfinger's now on to his fresh rubber. So Dixie is on a bit of a recovery phase. He's going to get some positions here. He will get out in front of Volksbob as well. Of course, these guys have been a new tyre. If Adam can recover piece 11 here as well and keep these tyres on the car to the end, it'd be a very, very, very good effort. So F-Lewis Winesam are inter-team battle. Are we going to see F-Lewis get through on Winesam? DRS open. Winesam defends over the inside line. F-Lewis sees day, so he says, yep, I'm going to go down the inside lane, and if you give me that door, he gets the squeeze on a bit. They'll go side by side. And Winesam defends hard, but fair. Good, solid defending there. Get Greenfingers now on the back of Nick, although I think Nick's just went through in his fresh rubber. So Nick will drive off now into the distance, although he has picked up a time penalty. But I don't think he's of major threat to Pedro. The question is, Rage on his soft compound tyre in the Haas. His fingers now pits. Oh, and he all he had to do was touch the brake there, and he sped into the pits. He was off throttle for ages as well. So let's stay with this fight. A nice onboard view there from F-Lewis as we see him get the pebble down. Is he going to make any moves? Because every position he gets now is 4-track position. He chooses to stay behind. I think into turn 1 is probably smart just to wait. It's better to get the move down in the second DRS on the up to the chicane. And I think, oh excuse me, this is where we could see F-Lewis really coming a charge. Bear with me, chat. I need to get myself some juice. I want some fizzy juice. Still a can of cherry Coca-Cola. So, what is happening? F-Lewis and Winesam still... Oh no, it's not, it's changed hands, so F-Lewis has got through it. He will now charge down Pedro, but that fight has got Pedro 3.3 seconds up the road. Danny Boy now in fingers. Not seen much of Danny Boy. Let's see how this battle plays out. Although I think Fingers may have just got through. But look at Mr. Rage on his soft compound tyre in that shed of a Haas. He is slowly creeping onto the back. Oh, I didn't even see that Pedro had got a penalty, Rob. I'm glad you've seen that, because I did not even notice that black and white flag next to his name. Oh yeah, so that could be disastrous, because Winesam's right in the back, F-Lewis as well. And Mr. Rage, as we see now, gets on the back of this fight. So, Rage is now in DRS range. The only problem is, the Haas struggles so bad in a straight line speed. Look, DRS open, and 95 miles an hour at the braking zone. In equal performance, and I know Rage is running the setup I run. You're doing 202 peak DRS energy use at the back end of that straight in the toe of another car. So yeah, that is a big pace advantage. A pace disadvantage, I should say. And Pedro doing a bit of business on his penalty gap. He's almost got it out to 4 seconds. As Danny Boy picks up a time penalty for multiple warnings. You're right. I hope for better things for them this year though, because they're a team that I've got nothing really bad to say about Haas. I like to see Americans come in and try, because everybody trashes them, right? They say that they don't understand a technical sport and we joke they can only go left, and IndyCar's very different, but I mean, credit where credit's due to Haas. I know they copied a lot from Ferrari, but it was legal stuff back then. But for an outfit just coming into this sport in a time where regulations were very, very difficult, I think they've done a good job in their first season. So I'd like to see them come back, because I think they're a team that genuinely could compete. Now, Mr. Rage on Ryan Sam. Well, that's it. So Ryan Sam goes back to an F. Lewis, and there's a little bit of contact there. F. Lewis does well to keep the car in check. Look at that. Chubby Slug now will swing round the outside and capitalise on that and go round the both into turn 11. They go. Chubby Slug up to P5. Of course, he has the penalty. But Pedro getting that gap out to 4.5 seconds. And I forgot about Nick, so Pedro was net P3. Sorry. So Chubby Slug now on Ryan Sam. The thing is, if Mataman's going to go through, he needs to go now. He has no option to wait behind. Obviously not now, because you didn't want to give him DRS back, but he's going to have a lap to try and pull a gap. Let's see the penalty. It's only 3 seconds. With the tyre difference, if you're really aggressive, you may get the gap, but by God, when he gets through and Ryan Sam, his next lap and a half needs to be absolutely perfect and very, very fast. And you see Matt's pushing, he's right on the back of Ryan Sam. DRS will pop open, he'll pull back to the racing line, and Matt will go through. F. Lewis too far away. Now the question is, in a lap and a half, can he get a 3-second gap? Well, straight away he's going to gain half a second through that first corner. Of course, he's got the better tyre, he's got a bit of clean air now. So maybe, just maybe, something will materialise. Let's go further back to the Nick and Danny Boy fight. Danny Boy very deep in the brakes, but gets the car slowed down. He's now all over the back of Volksbob. Oh, and a big move there for Mick. Good reactions there, as Danny Boy has a moment of Volksbob, and he does well to react to that one. And now Dixie on the back of Mick. Is Dixie still in that tyre? Wow. Can he find any positions? He's going to get a couple back. So Nick takes us on to the last lap. A penalty now for our top 4 drivers. So Pedro is safe, I think. Very, very clear. He's going to bring him a P3 now. Sprint race. Can't F. Lewis, or Mr. Rage has got through in F. Lewis, but I don't know if that was a smart time to go through, Rage. I think you're going to give that position back up in just 1 second. The question is, can he get the better exit? He's on the better tyre. And F. Lewis now will tuck into that DRS. We're going to see him get alongside. Will he be ahead? I think he'll be very ahead. Into that DRS zone, and there's just not much you can do in that Haas. I think that's why Rage is trying to just push in the corners, because it's the only place there's time to be gained. Anybody can drive quickly in a straight line, but it takes a good driver to get the most out of a track car in the corners. So here we see Mick going through in Wolfsburg. Wolfsburg trying to carry the speed on the inside line. It's not going to materialise this time. Mick got through in that fight as well. And Chubby Slug just cannot get away. But let's go to Nick. Nick has already took the checker flag. He wins the sprint. Ranger will come home in P2. A very, very good day in the office for Pedro. He's going to get a P3 in the sprint. P3 for starting the race as well. So good job there from Pedro. I think he'll be very pleased with P3. Chubby Slug. Oh, he might just get P4 here. I think Chubby Slug may just keep P4. He does. F. Lewis loses out to P4 by 1/10 of a second. It's Mr. Rage in P6. Ryan Sam lost to P6 by half a tenth. ENTFJ P8. Greenfingers P9. Mick will come home in P10, but I think he'll lose out to Vogs and maybe even Dixie. In the end, Dixie does go up to P11 and Mitzi Matt to P12. Mick down to P14, P13 for Mikey, very close between him and Mitzi Matt. 15 for Danny Boy, 16 for Mitch Scammer, P17, SPW 18, and Mazaspin P19. I've just got a quick picture of the race. And send that over to our Rage. So, Greenfingers gets driver of the day from the sprint. Add Nick, Pedro and Ranger for a quick 30-second chat with them all before they go into their feature race. Bear with me 1 second, chat. It's Pedro. Let me go to Nick. Where is Nick? It's taking a minute. Sorry, chat, my friends. Let's just takes a second. Come on, game. There is Jensen. Bear with me 1 second, Jensen. I'm just trying to get Nick and Ranger in for a chat. And Pedro, our top 3 from the sprint race. Yeah, Nick P1, Ranger P2, Pedro P3. So I'll get the guys in for a quick 30 seconds and then we'll do a quick refresh of the stream. So that for anybody watching, the stream will stop and then we will restart it very promptly for the feature race. So you just stay with us for a little minute, or don't stay in this stream because it'll end. Pedro joins us at the moment. Pedro, P3 in your sprint race. Did you see that one coming at the start?
Aye, I did. I was thinking top 5 finish at least. The McLaren's quite a good car in this track.
Yeah, it's very good in a straight line. I think guys were trying to pull the gap, but it's just it wasn't happening. You looked very comfortable. I don't think you were really gaining to Ranger, but you certainly weren't being put under pressure from behind. Feature race next, you start from P3. Can you do it again?
Well, let's hope. I think top 5 again if things go my way. Maybe back in the podium again.
Well, we hope to see it. Very well done, sir. Just a quick chat between your sprint and feature race, so good job.
No worries, mate.
Did Ranger join? He did not, but Nick is here. Nick, P1 in the sprint race, and honestly, very, very comfortable there.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think you really got a second gear.
I mean, I managed to push his mediums, get the overcut, and then it was just controlling it from there. Felt pretty comfortable at the front, so yeah, it was not too bad. The car felt great, so yeah.
So I expect utter dominance next. Do you foresee the
Yeah,
same?
I mean, I hope so. I hope so. Yeah, I mean, it was nice to be at the front of the pack again.
Where you
So
belong.
yeah, hopefully I can replicate that. Yeah, yeah. Thanks. But no,
Well,
yeah, it was nice to be in the front again.
I wish you all the best, Nick, for your
Thank
feature
you.
race ahead, and I hope you make it to the double.
Yes, and I hope to speak to you after the race as well, mate.
Yes. And Jensen, he's here in the background somewhere.
Yep.
Nice. All right.
Good luck,
See you
Nick.
guys in a bit.
Catch you later, boys.
Oh, see you later, Pedro. I thought you were away already. Sorry.
Yeah, have a good race.
Yeah. Bye. Love you. Bye.
Nice. And that is Pedro's way of leaving the stream. I think he does it every time. So, chat, bear with us, of course. Just stay on the channel. We will be back up in just a little minute with the feature race. With Jensen. Don't forget.